When people come up and say, this works, but I want to change it, be careful when you follow them. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, please leave a like, comment, and sub. Let's check out today's video.
Last year I turned 40, and these are things that I would not do again in my 20s and 30s. I would not get married. I met my husband when I was 24, and we got married when I was 29. At the time, I thought that this was like the ideal situation. I met the perfect age to get married. But what I realized was in the 4 years that we were married, I grew so much as a person.
4 years.
I graduated from business school, started my own business. I just became such a different person that I didn't feel like he was the best fit for me anymore. And I don't think I could have realized that at 29 when I said yes. If I could do it again, I would have allowed myself to have so much more growth in my life before I made a decision on a life partner. And it's really nothing against that partner specifically, but it was more about the direction that I wanted my life to take. My interests by 35 were unrecognizable to my younger self. And I don't think it would have been fair for me to take him on this journey if I didn't think that he was the right partner for the version of me that was to come.
So she met the guy at 24, they got married at 29, and then they divorced 4 years later, and now she's almost 40. So her aim with this video is to basically tell people why she separated and why she wouldn't have gotten married if she had a do-over. In my opinion, she sounds like she's trying to cope, right? Which is what a lot of people do when they make mistakes. Every time people make mistakes in life and they don't want to face that mistake, their language is different. So if I make a mistake and I'm the kind of person who owns up to my mistake, when I tell people about it, my language will be different. I'm gonna state the mistake, and I'm gonna tell that person I'm telling, don't make my mistake, because it was a mistake. I call it exactly what it is. But what happens in this generation is that we know that we've made a mistake, and instead of facing ourselves or facing our demons, so to speak, we run away from them and then we deceive ourselves. The Bible actually talks about that you can actually deceive your own self. That concept on its own has always been very interesting to me, because how can I deceive myself when I know what I'm thinking? But here it is in real time, right? Women do this all the time. So do men as well in other things. But when it comes to relationships or failed relationships, women tend to do this a lot. In my opinion, this reminds me of Will Smith and Jada. So when I was growing up, Will Smith and Jada were actually the pioneers of making open marriages like a thing. Right? I know it's been going on before them. There's nothing new under the sun. But they made it cool. People were looking at them like, oh, open marriages, like celebrities started talking about it. They were in the news, of course, they're famous. And I noticed at the time that even, normal layman was talking about, oh yeah, well, why can't we have open marriage? And then it became a thing. Now, what I noticed with this is that people who didn't think for themselves, people who idolize stars and idolize Will Smith and whoever it is that they idolize, tend to go along with this, especially young people. You hear something new and you think to yourself, oh, I want that. That might be cool. And you grow up thinking it's a right thing to do. People who are wise, people who they don't follow trends, so to speak, can look at the situation and say, that's not going to end well. We've now come full circle, right? Where we've all seen what happened to Will Smith. I've covered it on this channel. And now we see a point where Jada has basically said, we're not together, right? So their end shows you that their idea was nothing to write home about. And I always want to urge young people, look, we already have tried and tested things in the world. Follow those, because they work. You've seen it work. But when people come up and say, this works, but I want to change it, be careful when you follow them. And Will Smith and Jada Smith are a perfect example of this, because they tried to rewrite marriages. They tried to say that essentially an open marriage, which is basically a license to cheat, was still a marriage, but really and truly it wasn't, right? They've never been in a real marriage, and this is the consequence of that. So if you want that, then of course, by all means, guys, I love people making choices. I'm very much for you deciding what you want to do with your life, but be aware of what you're choosing. And in terms of this woman, she's basically saying, I'm almost 40 and I'm okay with it because I divorced my husband, and I didn't divorce him for any good good reason. I'm just not compatible. And now she's 40. She's going to struggle finding somebody. And instead of facing her demons and trying to find some form of redemption, she's basically saying, yeah, I chose this, so I'm okay with it. When we all know, everybody knows that nobody wants to be alone. Feminism and the manosphere are another example of this. They tell you don't need no man, stay alone. Manosphere says you don't need a woman, stay alone. But what's the end of that? What does it look like? And is it what you want? You need to choose for yourself. So yes, this woman is coping. She's not telling herself the truth. She probably regrets this. There's been so many videos on the internet where women start off, they divorce their husband, they run to the court and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna hit him where it hurts and I'm gonna live my best life. And then weeks later, the next video they release, they're like, oh, I'm struggling. Don't fall for the hype. There is already something that is tried and tested. Find yourself a good woman, get married and settle down. You choose a good woman. Look for a decent woman who is looking to settle down, who has good values, and you reduce your chances of divorce. The same for women, right? You can see the men who are for the streets. You can see the men who just want one thing, but you also notice that you overlook the ones that are in the background, the ones that don't stand out, the ones that are they're actually on their business. They're on their way to something. They're not out there trying to look for X, Y, and Z. Notice those guys and lock one of them down, right? The Bible talks about using your feminine wiles to get the man to come for you, right? So guys, it really is interesting how the world has distorted this very normal thing. Guy meets girl, gets married and settle down. What do you guys think of my thoughts on this video? What do you guys think of the current situation with Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith? Not just the entanglement, but the new news that, you know, she said they'd been separated since 2015 or 16. How interesting is that? So why did he slap Chris Rock? Whatever your thoughts are, guys, leave it in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to my channel and I'll see you on the next video.